Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning here. I've been up for a little while. Just enough time to have a cigarette and a can of Coke, or a couple of cigarettes and a can of Coke. And, you know, for the last couple of days, I haven't been acting out to the same degree. You know, uh, it's reflexive, so to speak. You know, whenever I become enterprising, you know, I'm surrendering to the fact that those kinds of thoughts are what lead me back into psychosis. You know, an example of that would be, you know, playing on the internet, um, you know, venturing there, you know, and my primary motive for doing so is that, you know, I believe it's monitored, and you know, I think that um, you know, there's members of fucking the CIA and ASIO, or if not, actual employees of that particular of uh, uh, industry, then you know, certainly contacts. You know, what really got me going again was the fact that Trump, um, you know, released two rappers, you know, who in my mind, you know, that was an indication that Snowden and Assange were rappers, and that they'd be pardoned, you know, once they'd gone through the due process of um, facing their charges, so to speak. And you know, also the fact that you know, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and um, Kamala Harris all wore purple on Inauguration Day, and it just so happens that you know, my main email account has the word purple in it, and you know, in this particular room, you know, there was some mention of uh, uh, Oprah, you know, and whilst I didn't feed into that too much, uh, uh, you know, I know that my story, or my life experiences, especially in my early childhood, you know, there was a lot of damage incurred by people with indigenous backgrounds. You know, so you know, I used to get really high thinking that you know, Dr. Phil, you know, I'd get a guest appearance on Dr. Phil, you know, and you know, all my perpetrators would come to the fore, and it'd be some kind of, you know, big fucking healing group or something along those lines. You know, that's what my ego does to me. You know, when, you know, what I basically do is entertain magical thinking. You know, because you know, it stems right back to my very first experience with signing up to the internet and getting my first email account. You know, my very first email was key to free at yahoo.com. And it was just an impulsive fucking thought. Um, um, my family ended up sending me a computer, and I went fucking troppo basically. I eventually ended up giving up that account, and made some other ones. But once again, it's about gameplay. Um, my email accounts at the moment are Purple Rain. I didn't want to hurt anybody, and once a jolly swagman can't buy a billabong. You know, So there's this fucking, fascination with being a hacker. I once had a service station attendant, say to me that, perhaps I should type into my search engine the son of porn, so to speak. And, I did that. I had no fucking idea what was going on the internet, and, this particular service station attendant ended up saying to me one evening that he nearly hacked into the Australian Federal Police website. And I'm sort of like, what the fuck? Instinct told me that fucking the internet was a shady business, so to speak, and that, activities like that would eventually get discovered, and you could either go to jail or be pressed into service, basically. And so I never got involved in programming or anything along those lines, because my instinct told me it was fucking dangerous, but I still believed I could be a hack. I didn't obsess about it all day, and it brought up a lot of fear and paranoia for me, and eventually, I slipped into psychosis, and that's cutting a long story short, but I still act out on that, belief, that I could be a hack or an agent, because, I started hearing this voice in my head saying, he'll show you how to do it, he'll show you how to do it, and, I ended up, Google searching agent Ictamo, which is this fucking black ointment, that draws out objects from wounds. It's a salve of some kind. And, that's what I thought I fucking was. An agent who was in communities. And, it's fucking madness. But that's what isolation does to me. And, most fucking addicts don't want to hear about conspiracies and fucking hackers and shit like that. But, it's just an intrigue. It stimulates my mind, and, I guess that's what the fucking cigarettes and Coca-Cola stimulate. And I don't really want to let them go. And the truth be known, it's been a process, and I'm I'm just surrendering to the fact now that you know um, my thoughts generally create a little bit of mystery and intrigue. I become fascinated with it. I experience, you know, when my ego ascertains something, a sensation like celebration, applause, and acclaim. And that's the validation that I never received as a child, for my intellect, you know, and it's not that fucking, you know, it's not that, uh, uh, you know, I only have an IQ of around 120. It's diminished somewhat, and yet, when I get these fucking ideas, I think they're fucking revolutionary, and they're going to stop the world in its fucking tracks, basically. So whether that's exacerbated, by the nicotine, sugar, and caffeine, I don't really know. But I'm becoming a lot better at realizing, just how powerless I am, over that kind of uh, um, phenomena. That's basically all it boils down to. It's phenomena. It's an or symptomatic of uh, 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 delusional thinking. Because I reference back, to this scandalous activity, that people play on the internet, and um, yeah, I hoped to profit from it. If I participate, then one day I'll be rewarded. Especially if I recover. When the truth of the matter is, I had no empathy or compassion, for anyone with a mental illness. When someone mentioned mental illness, I thought, poor bastard. And then to experience mental illness myself and still be struggling with that, um, it's been quite fucking humbling. So, I may appear somewhat sane and stable and sound at the moment, but it doesn't take much to trigger that, you know, um, obsessional thinking, where I once again enter into fantasy and, start to uh, experience or refer back to a delusion that, there's, um, a different fucking dimension to life, and that's basically, just an activity that people with the same sort of fucking, mental health issues entertain, but I've never made contact in the physical realm with any of those particular individuals, except, at a couple of rendezvous where I think, people that are a lot more intelligent than I am, have used me basically as somewhat of a uh, 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 pin-up boy to say, hey, look, this dude's off his fucking tree. So, I know it exists, but what it does to my mind, it's a little bit like trying to play rugby league, with a broken leg, or trying to bowl a cricket ball, with really fucking short arms, hoping to, bowl at 160 kilometers an hour. I try and play a game, basically that requires an IQ, that's really high. And, yeah, so I'm just, okay with the fact now that I'm somewhat of a, uh, uh, you know, a pauper in the, arena of, you know, what can only be described as, internet Machiavellianism, where, if you can identify, another party without them identifying you, then you have control, and that's basically what it's all about. Trying to delude, you know, pardon me, delude someone else into thinking that, they're sound, basically, or that their ideas and beliefs are valued above all others, and, I didn't realize that. I'm only just starting to identify, what my uh, 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 projection does, and it's basically a shared fantasy, and, others are participating in it as well, because I believe that, people with mental health issues that are on disabilities, could gain access to a little bit of government funding, because of their, uh, um, part of the security network, and, when I have an idea like that, I cling to it, and it's not like I overtly campaign for it, but, I keep suggesting it, to these individuals in this particular chat room who I think have those sorts of contacts. I've been talking for fucking 18 minutes now, and, I don't know if anyone else would be even vaguely interested in, what I've said, because it doesn't contain any, program at all. Being powerless is a paradox. So I can either accept the fact that, it distorts other vulnerable minds who are more interested in healing than being healthy. And I think I've wanted to always be healthy, but, I've had to accept the fact, that my mind has liabilities, and, I'm becoming increasingly aware of how delicate and fragile, my mind really is. And, yeah, fucking 20 minutes, man. I guess I'm fearing at the moment that, no one would be, in the slight, interested in the slightest manner. But I'll put it out there and, see what kind of a response I get. But that's a little about me, and, what I fucking experience. It has positives and negatives. Peace.